Video, I want to talk about the Supremacy Clause in the Constitution. It's Article 6, Clause 2, and it says, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding." Now, this is really easy to understand, and all the answers to this are in this Constitution. And if you can get past all the things you think you know and accept that maybe things aren't the way you thought they were, then you'll understand this part of the Constitution a lot more clearly and with more accuracy. So these answers are basically in Article 1, Section 8, which is really the meat of the Constitution. Let's look at this again real quick, though. You see the capitalizations, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States." So this Constitution is the Constitution of the United States for the United States of America. That's the way it's written in the preamble. So the United States is separate areas to the United States of America, and it has its own constitution that it follows, and that's for defense purposes. And all the laws that it can make for itself are in this Constitution. So this Constitution allows for the making of laws, and those laws are for the federal lands, which are the United States, the seat of government, and the lands purchased. And they're allowed to make treaties under its authority, and it'll be the supreme law of the land. Okay, so all these things together are the supreme law of land. And land is capitalized, which means it's not the land in general, it's specific lands. And the specific lands are the United States, the federal lands. The judges in every state shall be bound thereby. So when it says in Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, that the federal government has exclusive jurisdiction over the federal lands, it means that it's making the laws without interruption or without the states interfering. So the federal government has to be able to do all these things in the Constitution without state interference. So the judges in the states cannot make law or administer law over the federal lands, because the federal lands were left to just the federal government and the Supreme Court. So the Supreme Court is supposed to say whether or not something is constitutional according to this Constitution, the federal Constitution, not the judges in the states. So the judges in the states cannot decide what is or is not a constitutional law. As far as the federal Constitution goes, the judges in the states can only administer the law in the states according to the state constitutions. And the judges in the states are supposed to take an oath saying that they agree that this is the Constitution for the federal government over the federal lands, and that the Supreme Court is the constitutional decision maker over what's constitutional or not when it comes to the federal lands. And that's really the part that people misunderstand. They believe that the United States is a country, and it's not a country. It's lands set aside for defense purposes, and all those lands combined are called the United States. Those are the federal lands. And if you study just this one section of the Constitution, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1 through 17, you'll find the answers to that in here. So it says Congress has the power to do all these things, and then there's a list, and there's only one period in this entire section. You see this is a semicolon, 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 semicolons all the way down to the last section, which is a period. So when Congress makes laws, they're supposed to give their constitutional authority. And that looks like this. And you can find these on congress.gov. For example, H.R. 1, that's House Resolution 1, For the People Act of 2021, 117th Congress. If you go over to the side here, Constitutional Authority Statement, and it's right here, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 1. Almost every single thing that's passed, with the exception of revenue bills, they cite Article 1, Section 8. Article 1, Section 8 is one sentence long, so it can't really be pulled apart at all. Everything has to be in harmony. So if you say you're using Article 1, Section 8, a tax, okay, well, the tax applies only to the people on the federal lands, because this entire section applies to the federal lands. So everything that they have listed here applies to the federal lands. And it says it right here in 17. All cases whatsoever, here to bring all these things into law, into actual into being carried out. All these things have to be carried out by the Congress making law. And they have the exclusive power to make law on their lands. Exclusive legislation, meaning the states can't interfere, because all these lands are inside states. All the federal lands are inside the states. To exercise exclusive legislation in all cases whatsoever over this federal land called district, which is the seat of government of the United States, not United States of America, and like authority over all places purchased with consent of the legislator of the state. 4, and these buildings listed, these things listed, are defined as defense, D-E-F-E-N-C-E. And then the other laws in the Constitution, like those of revenue and passing bills. So the Supremacy Clause are the laws that they make, which are listed in Article 1, Section 8, passed by Congress on the federal lands, which are supposed to benefit the entire country, because that's what they're paid to do. They're paid to do things on their lands that benefit us. Okay, anything to the contrary of any state. So any state cannot make a law that goes against them doing their job. The job that they were agreed to do, and the job that they are paid to do. And the judges are bound by that. The judges in all the states are bound by this, because they have to agree not to interfere with what goes on federal lands. Of course, they're only supposed to do the list, the purpose. These are the purposes. And then the laws they make are to bring these into action. to make these actionable. So taxes, they write the tax laws. Duties, they write the duty laws. Impost and excise, they write laws on how they're going to bring all that into action. But those are the purposes of the laws. They're not supposed to do anything outside of these list of things that they're agreed to do on the federal lands. So it's like when you have a title to a land and it says you do have mineral rights, then you can mine for minerals on the land. But if you buy land and mineral rights were not conveyed to you, you can't take the minerals. I look at this kind of the same way. These are the rights that the states agreed that the federal government can do on the lands that the state either sold or leased or rented to the federal government. And all of these are the laws of the land to which the states agreed that the federal government would do. And the states agreed that they would not interfere, which gave Congress the right to exercise exclusive lawmaking power. But all of this, all these things are even supposed to be for the purpose of defense. In the preamble, defense with a C, which means to fortify. And they did it for the United States of America, which are the states. So this says, we the people of the federal government, or we the Congress of the federal government, in order to form a more perfect union and do all these things for the purposes of defense, fortifying, promoting the welfare and blessings of liberty, which is indicative to a republic, ourselves and our posterity. So it's for them on the federal lands, because you can be born or naturalized on the federal lands. But they do it in service to, or to benefit, or in trust for the states, the United States of America. So the states gave the federal government some lands to do these things for defense purposes in order to keep us all in our Republican form of government. Okay, so that's the Supremacy Clause. It doesn't mean that the Constitution is the law over all of us and the entire country. It means that the states agree that the Constitution is the law of the land, which the lands are the federal lands entrusted to it for defense purposes, and that what the government does, the states won't turn around and interfere with it because they agreed to it, to the Constitution, what's in the Constitution. Okay, so that's the Supremacy Clause, Article 6, Clause 2. Like, share, and subscribe because we all want to be free. And, well, I guess I can't say we all want to be free. I definitely want to be free. I'm an adult and I can stand on my own 2 feet. I don't need help from the government. I certainly don't need its so-called benefits, and I don't want to pay tax to it, and I don't want it ruling my life or licensing me for everything I want to do, taking things that are my property or coming onto my property. And a lot of people want the same thing. So if you're looking at wanting the same thing, then we need to share the videos and get the word out so that more people can understand. Y'all have a great free day.